Howdy Hexers, Infamous Neo here. I'm back again this week with another Scars of War spoiler breakdown, and the card we'll be talking about this week is the Songsmythe Virtuoso. This card is a rare 5-cost single wild threshold troop. It has 3 attack, 4 defense, and reads when a valorous troop you control attacks, conscript an ardent troop. Now, before we go any further, I should explain that valorous is a keyword given to troops by the card Valor. It's a 1-cost shardless basic action that is generally created by other effects. It doesn't do anything by itself, but it can interact with the effects on other cards, as we see here on Songsmythe. Conscript is a new keyword in Scars of War. Typically, Conscript will create a random troop and put it into your hand, changing the threshold colors of that card to match the card that created it. Sometimes, Conscript will include various specifics as to what that troop might be, such as a cost for the card or a faction. Here on Songsmythe, we see the troop created will be an ardent troop, but there is no cost specified. Now, this card is in no small way a limited bomb. It doesn't matter if you're in Evo or in Draft. Making a deck that can create valors is pretty much always going to be possible. It's a single threshold, makes it easy to play in any limited deck that includes Wild, and splashing Wild for this card is definitely something I would consider personally. In Evo, it might be harder to find a deck that can make a lot of Valor right away, but this card is also going to be removed from the board far less often due to a limited supply of removal in the opponent's decks. Unless you're really stuck for Valor generation, this card is almost always going to create you some card advantage. In Draft, the quality of your opponent's removal may improve, but it's also much easier to draft a deck that focuses on Valor. In this situation, landing Songsmythe for a single turn is likely enough to net you some serious card advantage. Either way, in Limited, this card is a must answer. Now, in Constructed, Songsmythe isn't as clear-cut a constructed staple as Strangle last week, but I do believe there is some potential here for a strong showing depending on how the format forms around Scars of War. When I first saw this card initially, I rated it fairly low for constructed play. However, thinking about the card over the last week has led me to believe there is potentially a spot for it in constructed play. What we will talk about here today will mainly focus on Diamond and Wild. There are some strong Valor choices in Ruby, but I think our best bet here is to look at Diamond as the second shard. I think the goal with Songsmythe Virtuoso is to play it on turn 5, with a host of valorous troops ready to attack. One of the big strengths of this card is that the valorous troops need only declare an attack with this on the board to start generating free cards. And that means this card is very likely to do its job at least once before it can be removed by any basic removal. Even though quick removal like Strangle can still get to Songsmythe before those valorous troops can attack, the nature of this effect means that any basic removal will likely be too late to stop this card having a serious impact on the game. So, a general game plan would be to play a solid 1-drop like Gust Mage or Intrepid Conjurer, follow that up on turn 2 with a Valor generating 2-cost, or even a Valor synergy card like Satyrs Roostbard. Then on turn 3, we can play another 2-drop or something like Hero of Legend to really ramp up our Valor generation. After this, we would likely be applying our Valors to the troops in preparation for the Songsmythe, and then using our spare resources we can play removal or add more board presence. Turn 5 is where the Songsmythe comes down into the fight and we can send our valorous troops into attack. The most common scenario is going to be that we are able to conscript a couple of cards, and even if we lose our Songsmythe at this point, it has done its job, giving us 2 extra cards and forcing our opponent to spend resources and hopefully a card to take it out. Obviously, if it does stick around, the card generation will just grow and grow. This is certainly something the opponent will not want to leave on the board for any reasonable amount of time. This is just one scenario for the card, of course, but you can begin to see what kind of place the Songsmythe Virtuoso will have in a deck like this, perhaps acting as a cheaper and likely more budget-friendly Balthazar, but one that has the potential to continue to create card advantage throughout the rest of the game. It's a pretty nice curve topper that continues to give you cards to use once you've used the majority of the things you opened in your starting hand. The downside, of course, is that the troops do have to attack. If this card is removed before then, or you simply can't attack in, you're going to have trouble getting any value from this card at all. One last thing to consider is that the troops this card makes can be an ardent troop of any cost. This can be something fantastic, something mediocre, or maybe even something a little bit useless. Generally though, the power level of the troops created should be good. It is of course still random, and variance will certainly be in full force here, but the more valorous troops you control, the more chances you will have for good hits from this card. In summary, Songsmythe Virtuoso has a powerful effect, but it remains to be seen if that effect can be fully utilised in the constructed format. Remember to keep your eyes on Twitch, Twitter and those HEX fan sites for more spoilers as we continue to push forward towards the release of Scars of War. Thank you for watching guys, and I will see you next time.